Alright, good evening everyone. Welcome back to Market Wrap Up with Arjit, a video series by Zdvisor where we decode complex market movement and market triggers for everyone within 15 minutes. So let's get started. Let's start with Nifty 50 here. So an interesting move in Nifty 50 came today because the market after a very long time was in a tight consolidation. So Nifty opened with a gap down around 0.3% down at 23,288. But shortly after that, the market was at days high at 23,450. But if you look at the further movement in the market was in a tight range between 23,337 and the day's high at 23,450-465. This is not just for Nifty. If you look at Sensex, same dicto, exact copy paste, same chart here. You look at Bank Nifty, similar movement there as well. So what really happened in the market? In market एकदम से sideways कैसे हो गया? So what's really happening in the market? Let me tell you. So the market is exactly becoming sandwiched between all of the news flows that are out there. So news flow में positive side पे we have the US Iran peace deal that is happening among all of the other triggers as well. And on the negative end, we have the weakness from crude oil, we have the weakness from all the global markets. All of these triggers are adding up for the negative part. And while fighting to all of these triggers, our markets ended up in a tight range. Another reason for this is the RBI Monetary Policy Committee meeting tomorrow. So the meeting is already going, but the final announcements are going to come out tomorrow, which is another reason why market is sideways because nobody knows ये रेपो रेट्स कम करेंगे या रेपो रेट बढ़ा देंगे या रेपो रेट को अनचेंज रखेंगे. नोबडी नोज. देयर इज प्रेडिक्शंस आउट देयर कि शायद हमें लगता है बढ़ जाए, शायद हमें लगता है कम हो जाए. Honestly, even if I come here and tell कि repo rates बढ़ने वाले हैं, कम होने वाले हैं, it wouldn't matter because markets might already have priced that particular news in. So what's interesting to look at for tomorrow on the index is the important level of 23,500 on the upper side and 23,684. And on the downside, we already have 23,300, 23,150 and 23,000. Right? So these, by default, technically, these are the important levels. Let's talk about another thing. So if you look at Nifty on a higher time frame, around 21st of April, we were at high of 24,600. It was not an all-time high, but इस particular range में we were at the higher point at 24,600. Within 15 days, we are 1,000 points down at 23,400, 23,300, 23,400. अब इतना गिरने के बाद एक बात तो क्लियर है कि भाई लोअर हाई लोअर लो बन रहा है, मतलब मार्केट नेगेटिव तो है, ट्रेंड नेगेटिव है, ये कंफर्म है. बट नाउ आफ्टर सच अ ह्यूज फॉल एंड आफ्टर अ लॉन्ग टाइम मार्केट्स आर साइडवेज. नॉट जस्ट फॉर वन डे. इफ यू लुक एट द 2-3 days का पास्ट डेटा, निफ्टी स्टक बिटवीन 23,300 एंड 23,500. ना नीचे वो तोड़ रहा है, ना ऊपर 23,500 तोड़ रहा है, विच मीन्स यहाँ पे एक अच्छा कॉन्ट्रैक्टिंग पैटर्न बन रहा है. मतलब मार्केट यहाँ पे इसी टाइट रेंज में अटक जाएगा एंड फिर यहाँ से क्या होगा, फिर यहाँ से मार्केट फटेगा. अब ये ऊपर फटेगा या ये नीचे फटेगा वो तो आने वाले टाइम में न्यूज बताएगी. बट व्हाट्स इंपॉर्टेंट टू नोट इज दिस, if the market goes positive, this might be the best time to accumulate stocks. See, everybody talks about bottom fishing, everybody talks about buying the dip, but nobody knows when is the right time to buy that particular dip. Right now might be the right time to start looking at more stocks and start accumulating all of the stocks from the market, because काफी सारे ऐसे स्टॉक है जो फंडामेंटली अच्छे हैं और अब सस्ते वैल्यूएशन पे अवेलेबल है. So this might be your chance and might be the right time for you to accumulate all of those stocks and start building a portfolio once again. Now let's talk about sectors. So if you look at the sectoral heat map over here, IT was once again, IT and metals, they were the top losing sectors once again. Yesterday's session as well, IT was among the top losers. Metals, everybody knows the volatility between the metal prices in Asian market which are affecting the metal stocks. But if you look at IT sector, AI is now becoming a problem, not just for Indian markets but for global markets as well. Let's look at the global markets. Let's look at the Dow Jones indices. So, Dow Jones Industrial Average is like the benchmark index for US market. जैसे हमारा Nifty 50 है, उनका Dow Jones है. Dow Jones closed down 1.21% yesterday, which is, it's not a very big negative, but it's a huge fall, 1% for any index. And since we are talking about IT, let's talk about Nasdaq Composite, which is ICSIC. So if I load this, ICSIC was also near its life high, double top यानी M पैटर्न बनाया. M पैटर्न का जैसी ब्रेकडाउन दिया, ब्रेकडाउन में वापस से almost 1% down in yesterday's session. So which means despite the entire AI coming out of the US markets, the US IT का index, which is Nasdaq, which is the IT services, AI पूरा सी सारी companies इस index में आती हैं, ICSIC is also down, which means AI stocks are now becoming like, it's not like they're giving ekdam blind returns, but these stocks are facing pressures as well. So that is like the primary reason why IT is down. On the high upper end, we have, so for the top gaining sectors, we have media, consumer durables, auto, banking stocks, and oil and gas, which were among the top gaining sectors for the day. Now, talking about some of the important stocks from the day, the number one stock that I have is a stock from power industry. Not PFC, but I'm going to talk about Hitachi Energy, which is Power India. Now, everybody knows the rally behind Hitachi Energies. We have talked about this in a couple of live sessions with Zdvisor as well. The rally started at around 24,000 and right now the stock is at 36,690. Good one-sided rally that Power India has given us. But now, although the power sector is doing good, I think for Power India, for Hitachi Energy, this might be the last leg of the rally. Why is that? Quite interesting. Earlier, we saw a rounding bottom pattern a couple of days ago on 13th of May. We saw a rounding bottom pattern in this stock, जिसके बाद एक अच्छी खासी rally आई in this stock. I'm not denying that. But right now on hourly time frame, we are seeing head and shoulders pattern. So let me quickly see if I can just draw something out. Never mind. We have the head and shoulders pattern. Let me just quickly draw the neckline here. So the pattern would be even more clear to us right here. So the first shoulder is forming here between 20 and 22nd of May. We have the big mountain here, which is the head, and the right mountain, which is the third mountain, is being formed, which is our right shoulder. अब जैसे आई एम नॉट सेइंग कि स्टॉक अभी गिर जाएगा, बट जैसे ही ये नेकलाइन को ब्रीच करेगा, द नेक्स्ट लेवल दैट द स्टॉक माइट टेस्ट कैन बी 31,000 and 30,000, 33,000. These are the two important levels on the downside that I'm looking out for in Power India. Please note a big disclaimer, this is not a recommendation, just an analysis out of the free data that I'm trying to present to everybody else. Not a recommendation, please do not consider this as an investment advice. This is just for educational purposes. So this is something that I'm watching in Power India. If you look at other power counters which are doing quite well, we had PFC open up. So PFC is doing very well. But in front of this, if you look at IT stocks, if you look at TCS, which is one of the large IT stocks that I like to track, TCS, huge fall, 8% down yesterday. And even today, TCS was down and under pressure. Now, interesting analysis, interesting point that I have observed between IT and power sectors is when IT rises, power sector falls. And when IT is down, power sector is doing very well. So, as an example, TCS तो एक stock है ही हमारे पास. Let's look at other IT counters as well. Let's look at Infosys. So, if you look at Infosys Limited over here, Infosys was also down today, gap down के बाद एक अच्छे खासे pressure में था. In front of that, if you load PFC, Power Finance, it is doing very well. So, I think that proves the theory here. Definitely, we'll create a detailed video around it and try to discuss that in detail with everybody. Let's move on with the open interest or the OI analysis that we do every day. So from open interest, we are seeing that the current strike price, which is 23,550 once again. Yesterday also when we were doing the live video for market wrap up, Nifty was at 23,550 and today once again. At the current strike price, we are seeing increased data, increased OI for call option, which means open contracts for call option is around 21,200. But for put options, it's 8,200, which means your overall PCR is 0.39. अब सबको पता है कि आप PCR कैसे रीड करते हैं. So PCR whenever it's 0.5 or below 0.5 or near to 0.5, it means that a positive momentum is being formed in that particular script. ये चाहे आप स्टॉक में देखो, चाहे आप इंडेक्स में देखो, जहाँ पे PCR 0.5 के पास में, वहाँ से एक अच्छी खासी रैली आपको देखने मिलती है. And on the upper side, वी हैव 1.5. तो 1.0 एकदम न्यूट्रल होता है. 1.5 मतलब अब ओवरबॉट हो गया, यहाँ से नीचे आएगा, एंड 0.5 के पास में ओवरसोल्ड हो गया, अब यहाँ से वापस से रिवर्सल आएगा. This is how you usually read PCR. At the current strike price, we have a PCR of 0.39, which is indicating that यहाँ से एक अच्छा खासा momentum on the upside आना चाहिए. If you look at the highest call OI on the higher end, we have 23,800 and we have 24,000. Both of the levels are already marked on our chart. In fact, we have created a range between 23,800 and 23,850 because that is where the market used to come and जाके वहाँ पे अटक जाता था. So we created a range around that which is still intact and being respected by market. On the downside, we have 23,500 तो खैर है ही futures पे. But if you look at spot levels, spot पे 23,500 है, मतलब इस समय 23,438 spot में चल रहा है, तब futures में 23,500 550 चल रहा है. So right now on the downside, if you look at the levels 23,300 and 23,000 are the important levels on the downside, both of which are marked on the chart already. In fact, technicals देख के we have marked 23,150 as well, जहां से market ने exactly उसी level से कल support लिया था, which means that the level is correct. आपको क्या करना है? You just have to watch this video once again, mark the key levels, understand the reason why the market was under pressure, mark the levels and trade the levels and stay profitable. If you enjoyed this analysis, consider subscribing, liking this video and sharing it with your trader friends. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much.